Hello, how y'all doing? It's Fat Guy Flyers RC. As you can see, I have the F-35 all put together. I pretty well got her balanced right where I want her. I'm going to put the gear down. Let's see what happens. Good. That's exactly what I want to happen. I want the CG to shift backwards just a touch. Now, CG on her. This is, and by the way, welcome. This is Fat Guy Flies RC. This is the radio, CG, and setups video for the Free Wing F-35. All right. Let's go over what I have done. All right. Number one, as I just demonstrated, the CG is 32 milliliters back, or millimeters back, from not necessarily the wing root, but where the wing starts to bend here according to the instruction, which puts it back 32, which right here in this little corner right here, and I put that red dot, or that black dot. And for underneath, to give you a landmark, if you feel for this plastic structure here, it's right on that corner. So I got the gear down, so that changes it a little bit. But right there is just about perfect. Okay? So 32 millimeters back from the corner, not where the wing root normally is, which we normally would measure, but from this corner right here. Okay? All right. Now, alrighty, as I was saying, we got the CG is right 32 back from this little corner right here. And yeah, that's where it's at. Okay, now, to go over our rates. Oh, wait, let me show you braking real quick.
Braking.
Okay, and then
Brakes off.
for forward thrust. Okay, let's go ahead and
Prop secure.
turn the motor off. Now, to show you my rates. Now, the book calls for 80 for your aileron, or I'm sorry, for your elevator and rudder, a low rate of 80 and a high rate of 100 over whatever expo you like. I put 20% expo all the way around on everything. However, on the book for the ailerons, which are reportedly very, very touchy, and that the high rate on the aileron, or the low rate on the book, should actually be your high rate. For aileron, it calls for a low rate of 60 and a high rate of 80. Well, this is my high rate. I'll move this a little bit forward so you can see a little better. This is my high rate on the aileron. Okay? All right. And for me, that's 60%. Okay, so that's actually what their low rate is 60%. That's going to be my high. My low is 50, and my low is 40. So 40 for low,
Mid-rate.
50 for mid,
High rate.
and 60 for high, and that is more than enough. Those are really big control surfaces. Okay, let me move the camera back just a touch, because I can only go so far forward with the airplane. Okay, and then on my elevator, high rates are 100, which is that. Mid rates are 90, which is that.
Low rate.
And low rates are 80, which is that right there. Rudder is exactly the same way. Rudder for low rates is that, which is 80. Mid is 90. High is 100. And like I said, I got 20% expo all the way around. Now, I've also, because I've added the Limit RX Gen 2 stabilized receiver, I also have the additional gyro on, gyro off. And let me show you. Now, setting up these gyros, these Limit RX receivers are a little more complicated than your forward programming and your Spectrum World. It has to do with a series of lights and timing, so it does take a little bit. I had to do it 2 or 3 times to get it right. But once you know you got it right, hear those gyros working. If you look right here, if you watch these lights, you'll notice the orange light in the bottom right. Maybe we'll go out.
AS3X.
Okay, that's AS3X. Probably won't be able to see it. Okay. Yeah. It's just a little bit of yellow light. When it's on, and I got the audio call out for AS3X, which is what I'm going to call it, and then when that's out, I switch the switch, turn it off. No gyros.
AS3X.
Gyros on. And then the other feature that I've been able is my gain channel with this Lumen RX. I assigned to aux 2 in this case, which I assigned to the right knob, and that's the gyros. The gains turn all the way down, okay? And this is where the gyros turned all the way up. A lot of corrections. So basically, I keep it just a little, about maybe a third of the way for just a smaller amount of correction. Now, if I find it's not enough and she's really getting rocketed around, I can increase the gains a little bit. But if she starts oscillating as she's flying, then I'll decrease the gains. It's a matter of just finding that right sweet spot of flying her in. And since I can do that on the fly, the response is instantaneous. All right. We've gone over the CG. We've gone over the rates. Let me show you the gear real quick. And just so you know, I'll be running a 4000 6S's on this thing. Gear goes up and goes down very quickly. And to get that CG, where I just told you that 0.32 back, all the way back, this is where I have put the 4000. Okay? About maybe a third or maybe about a quarter of the battery underneath the firewall. And if you look, you got the front placement here where you could have a strap. Well, I've got it, that's where the strap is. So just behind where that strap is. So if I go with a smaller battery, like say a 3300 6S, I'll bring the battery forward a little bit. If I go with a heavier battery, like a 5000, then I'll go back a little bit. But for right there, right about there, is where the 4000 is where she CG's just perfect. All right, so we've covered CG, we've covered rates, we've covered the gear. Nothing about the build stands out. She went right together. Just make sure you've got your screws lined up perfectly for your putting your rudders on. I had a little problem with that, but you see that in the build process. The ESC is a little touchy as far as arming itself. The ESCs, you can't really hear it, so you got to really put your ear down there, because sometimes I found that it doesn't always want to arm itself right away. So make sure that your everything's neutral. Make sure that your trim on your throttle's all the way down to nothing, and that your throttle is all the way down. And then plug it in, and it should arm itself. There's a couple of times it wouldn't arm itself, and I had to start over. And I had the prop turned on, or I had a little bit of throttle in there, and it won't arm. So it's very picky. It wants that throttle all the way at 0. It wants your throttle cut off or your throttle cut on. Throttle at 0. All your trims on the throttle electronically down to 0 before it'll arm itself. So it's just a little picky. That's just a safety feature. So don't get discouraged. Make sure you arm. And you'll know if you turn it on, you got power, because the ESC is buried in there and you really can't hear it arm it. It's very quiet. So, which is good and bad. But there you go. I can't think of anything else to cover. She seems trimmed right out. I drove around the driveway, did a range test. These Lumen RXs are awesome. To show you my receiver placement, there's plenty of room. It fits flat in there. I got one antenna going back this way. Then I poked a hole through, and it's coming through in the bay, in the wheel well, and I got it taped up against the little structure there, the wall there, so it's not going to be in any way, and that way I get true 90 degrees dual diversity directional for the antenna. So that's what you want. All right, well, thank you so much. We'll get this out, get a maiden for you next. And yeah, thank you, Plane Fairy, for bringing this to me. Emotion RC let me spend $299 for it. So thank you for watching. Y'all have a good, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget Faith, Family, and Friends. F35. Bye.